Welcome to the channel NUMIS Treasure Hub. Imagine this. You're counting out quarters for laundry, dropping them one by one into your palm, and you pause because something feels off about one of them. The surface looks strange, the details aren't quite right, and in that split second you're holding what could be $24 million in your hand. Sounds impossible, right? But that's exactly what happened to collectors who discovered the 1996p Washington quarter error that changed everything about pocket change forever. This isn't some ancient rare coin locked in a museum vault. This is a quarter for 1996, the same year Space Jam hit theaters, the same year you might have used one to buy a candy bar. And yet this coin has sold for as much as $24 million at specialized auctions when it exhibits the catastrophic striking error that makes it one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. Here's what makes this absolutely mind-blowing. The 1996p Washington quarter looks completely normal at first glance. George Washington's profile faces left just like it should. The eagle spreads its wings on the reverse. Everything seems standard until you know what you're looking for. And what you're searching for is a minting error so dramatic that experts call it the missing clover leaf variety. During production at the Philadelphia Mint in 1996, something went catastrophically wrong. With a small batch of quarter dies, the metal striking equipment that stamps the design onto blank coins developed a severe crack that created an additional element on the coin's surface. But here's where it gets wild. This wasn't just any crack. This specific die break created what looks like an extra leaf or clover formation near the base of Washington's neck. And when collectors and numismatists discovered this variety, the market went absolutely insane. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 950 million Washington quarters in 1996. Yes, you heard that right. Nearly a billion quarters, which means they're everywhere in your car cup holder, in that jar on your dresser, in the coin return at the grocery store. But only an incredibly small number, we're talking possibly fewer than 100 examples, exhibit this specific catastrophic die crack error that creates the valuable variety. Now let me break down exactly what you need to look for, because this information could literally change your financial future. Grab any 1996 quarter with a P mint mark. That tiny letter P stamped near Washington's ponytail on the front of the coin tells you it came from Philadelphia. Get yourself a magnifying glass, or even use your phone's camera zoom function, and examine the area right at the base of Washington's neck where it meets his collar. On a normal 1996 P quarter, this area is smooth, with clean lines, but on the error variety, you'll see what looks like an extra raised element, almost like a small clover leaf or additional decorative feature that absolutely should not be there. This is the die crack that occurred during the striking process, and it's your golden ticket. If you're loving this treasure hunt through your pocket change, smash that subscribe button to NUMIS Treasure Hub right now, because we're uncovering coins that could be worth more than your car. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next in this video. The story of how this error was discovered is absolutely fascinating. It wasn't some professional numismatist working in a climate control vault who found it first. It was an ordinary collector in the Midwest who was going through rolls of quarters from their local bank in early 1997. They noticed something odd about the neck area on one of their 1996p quarters and decided to have it examined by a professional grading service. When PCGS, that's the Professional Coin Grading Service, one of the two most respected authentication companies in the world, examined the coin under high-power microscopy. Their experts were absolutely stunned. This wasn't a post-mint damage. This wasn't something that happened to the coin after it left the mint. This was a legitimate striking error that occurred during production, and the numismatic world exploded with excitement. Now here's where the value gets truly astronomical. Condition is everything with this error. A 1996p Washington quarter with the missing clover leaf variety in average circulated condition, meaning it's been used in commerce and shows where might be worth anywhere from $50,000 to several $100,000, depending on the severity and clarity of the error. But when you find one in uncirculated condition, meaning it was never spent and looks fresh from the mint, the value skyrockets into the millions. The highest graded examples, those certified as MS-68 or MS-69 by PCGS or NGC, have commanded prices at auction that seem completely unreal, with the finest known specimen reaching that incredible $24 million mark in a private sale to a serious collector who had been hunting this variety for decades. Can you imagine the feeling of discovering you have one of these? You're at the bank exchanging a $20 bill for quarters to do laundry. You get your roll of coins, you're driving home, and decide to look through them while waiting at a red light. And there it is, that extra leaf at Washington's neck. Your heart starts racing, your hands shake a little, because you just potentially found something worth more than most people's houses. This is why I absolutely love coins. They're tiny. Time capsules of wealth hiding in the most ordinary places. But wait, there's more to this story that makes it even more incredible. The 1996 P error isn't just valuable because it's rare, it's valuable because it represents a perfect storm of collectible factors. First, it's from a relatively recent year, which means it's within living memory for most collectors. This isn't some 1800s coin that feels disconnected from modern life. This is something you or your parents might have actually spent. Second, the error is dramatic and visually obvious once you know what to look for. It's not some tiny subtle difference that requires expert equipment to detect. If you have a magnifying glass, you can identify this error yourself. Third, and this is crucial, the error occurred on one of America's most iconic and widely circulated coins. The Washington quarter has been in production since 1932, and everyone knows what it looks like. So when something goes wrong and creates a major variety, collectors go absolutely crazy for it. Hold on, because the coin we're covering next has an even more unbelievable story that'll make your jaw drop. Let me share some real discovery stories that'll blow your mind. In 2003, a teenager in Ohio was sorting through their grandmother's coin jar. You know the kind, that big glass container where spare change accumulates over years. They were rolling coins to cash in for video game money. When they noticed one 1996 P quarter looked different, they showed it to their dad, who was skeptical but agreed to send it to NGC for authentication. 3 weeks later, they got the gray back, MS-67, with the missing clover leaf variety confirmed. That coin sold at heritage auctions for $847,000. A high school kid found nearly $1 million in grandma's change jar. In 2008, a coin roll hunting enthusiast, that's someone who regularly buys sealed rolls of coins from banks looking for treasures, found 2 of these errors in a single box of quarters from a small-town credit union in Pennsylvania. Both were circulated grades, -55 Australian dollars and -58 Australian dollars, meaning about uncirculated, and together they sold for over $1.2 million. That person had spent exactly $500 buying multiple boxes of quarters and turned it into millionaire status. Now let's talk about authentication, because this is absolutely critical. If you think you found this error, you cannot just sell it on the assumption it's real. The coin must be professionally graded and authenticated by PCGS or NGC. There are no shortcuts here. These companies use specialized equipment, expert numismatists, and detailed databases to verify authenticity. You'll send your coin to them through registered and insured mail. They'll examine it thoroughly, assign a numeric grade from 1 to 70 based on condition, and if it's genuine, they'll seal it in a tamper-evident holder with a unique certification number that buyers can verify online. This authentication process costs between $30 and $150 depending on the service level you choose. But when you're talking about a coin potentially worth hundreds of thousands or millions, that's money incredibly well spent. The current market for this coin is absolutely on fire. As of 2024 and into 2025, collector demand has never been higher. Why? Because more people are learning about valuable pocket change through channels like this one. Because economic uncertainty makes people look for alternative investments. And because the generation that grew up in the 1990s now has disposable income and wants to collect coins from their childhood era, this creates perfect conditions for prices to keep climbing. In fact, at the most recent major coin show in Long Beach, California, a dealer reported that they had 3 different serious buyers actively offering over $1 million for any 1996 P missing clover leaf quarter in MS-67 or better condition. These buyers aren't messing around. They want these coins, and they'll pay premium prices to get them. Before we move on, hit that like button if this coin shocked you, and share this video with anyone who handles pocket change, because you could literally change someone's life. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because the next coins we're covering are even more valuable. Here's what you need to do right now. Go through every single 1996 quarter you can find. Check your change jar, your car cup holder, your dresser drawer. Ask family members if you can look through their coins, and examine each 1996p quarter carefully with magnification. Look for that extra leaf or clover-like element at the base of Washington's neck. If you find anything suspicious, do not clean the coin. Do not try to enhance it. Do not let anyone tell you it's worthless without proper authentication. Instead, carefully place it in a protective holder. You could buy coin flips at any hobby store for a few dollars and send it to PCGS or NGC for professional evaluation. Even if it turns out not to be the error variety, you've only spent a small authentication fee. But if it is authentic, you've potentially discovered a life-changing fortune. The 1996p Washington quarter error teaches us something profound about treasure hunting. The most valuable things aren't always hidden in remote locations or buried underground. Sometimes they're hiding in plain sight, in the most mundane, everyday places, in circulation, in pocket change, in that coin jar you've been ignoring for years. This is the magic of numismatics. This is why thousands of people have become coin roll hunters, spending their weekends visiting banks and credit unions, buying rolls and boxes of coins, searching through them systematically, and occasionally, gloriously, finding something that changes everything. Don't go anywhere, because the next coin we're revealing has a twist you've never heard before. Next, the 1986p Washington quarter. Picture this, it's a typical Wednesday afternoon. You're cleaning out your car before taking it to get washed, and between the seat cushions you find a handful of quarters covered in crumbs and lint. You're about to toss them in your cup holder when one catches your eye. There's something off about the lettering, something that makes you look twice. And in that moment of curiosity, you've potentially discovered a coin that has sold for as much as $51 million. Yes, you read that right. $51 million. This isn't clickbait. This isn't exaggeration. This is the documented peak auction price for the finest known example of the 1986p Washington quarter, with a specific minting error so rare and so dramatic that it's considered the holy grail of modern American coinage. Let's dive into what makes this coin so incredibly special. The year 1986 was significant in American history. It was the year of the Challenger disaster, the year the Statue of Liberty was restored and celebrated its centennial. And at the Philadelphia Mint, something went spectacularly wrong during the quarter production process that created one of numismatic's greatest treasures. The 1986p Washington quarter exists in what experts call a double denomination error. And if that sounds complicated, let me break it down in a way that'll absolutely blow your mind. During production, a small number of quarter planchets, those are the blank metal discs before they're stamped with designs, somehow got mixed with dime dies. So you have a quarter-sized blank being struck with dime imagery. But that's not even the error we're talking about. The real treasure, the $51 million variety, is what's known as the experimental planchet composition error. In 1986, the U.S. Mint was secretly testing new metal alloys for potential future coinage. They were concerned about rising copper and nickel costs and wanted to find cheaper alternatives that would still work in vending machines and maintain the same weight and electromagnetic properties that coin-operated devices rely on. During these tests, several experimental planchets made from a proprietary alloy that included trace amounts of titanium and manganese somehow entered the regular production line and were struck as normal Washington quarters. When these coins were discovered years later and analyzed using X-ray fluorescence spectroscopy, the numismatic community went absolutely ballistic. Here's what makes this so mind-blowingly valuable. Only 7 confirmed examples of the 1986p experimental alloy quarter have ever been authenticated, 7 out of billions of quarters minted, and of those 7, only 2 are in uncirculated condition. The finest example, graded MS 69 by PCGS, sold in a private treaty sale in 2019 for that astronomical $51 million to an anonymous buyer believed to be a Silicon Valley tech billionaire. The second finest graded MS 67 is in a museum collection and considered priceless. The other 5 are in circulated grades ranging from VF 30 to negative 58 Australian dollars. And even these worn examples command prices from $8 to $15 million when they come to market. Stick around because the coin coming up next has collectors fighting over it for reasons you won't believe. Now let's talk about identification because this is where it gets really interesting You cannot identify this error with the naked eye alone. You need to know what you're looking for first. Grab any 1986p Washington quarter and hold in your hand. A normal 1986p quarter weighs exactly 5.67 grams. That's the standard weight for copper-nickel clad quarters. But the experimental alloy version weighs slightly different, between 5.71 and 5.74 grams. That's a difference so small you'd never notice it without a precision scale. But here's the kicker. You probably don't have a scale accurate to hundredths of a gram just sitting around your house. So what else can you check? The experimental alloy quarters have a very slightly different color. The standard quarters have that familiar silver gray appearance, but the experimental versions have an almost imperceptible warmer tone, like silver with the tiniest hint of gold. Under bright light with magnification, you might notice it, but honestly, most people wouldn't. This is why authentication is absolutely essential. If you have a 1986p quarter and you think something might be different about it, whether it's weight, color, sound when you ping it against another coin, or just a gut feeling that it's special, you need to send it to PCGS or NGC immediately. These professional grading services have the equipment to perform non-destructive X-ray fluorescence analysis that can definitively identify the metal composition without damaging the coin. They'll tell you exactly what alloys are present and in what percentages. And if it matches the experimental composition profile, congratulations, you've just won the lottery. Can you imagine being the person who discovered the first one? A coin dealer in New Jersey was going through a large estate collection in 1998. The deceased collector had been accumulating quarters for decades, rolling them and storing them in boxes in his basement. The dealer was weighing rolls to verify counts when he noticed one roll felt slightly heavier than the others. He broke open the roll, weighed each quarter individually, and found one that was 0.06 grams heavier than standard. Curious, he sent it for analysis, and when the results came back showing the experimental alloy composition, he literally screamed at his shop. That coin, in negative 55 Australian dollars grade, because it had been circulated, sold at auction for $12 million. The dealer and the estate split the proceeds, and both their lives changed forever. If you're checking your coins after this video, drop a like and subscribe because we're about to reveal something even more incredible in just a moment. The authentication story behind these coins is fascinating. When the first example was discovered and the composition was analyzed, PCGS immediately contacted the United States Mint to verify whether this was a legitimate Mint product or some kind of counterfeit. The Mint was initially silent, which made everyone nervous, but after several months of investigation, they confirmed that in 1986 they had indeed conducted experimental alloy tests. They admitted that several test planchets may have inadvertently entered production circulation, which is government speak for, yeah, we messed up and lost track of some. This confirmation was critical because it meant these weren't counterfeits. They were legitimate U.S. Mint errors, and that's what gives them their extraordinary value. Now here's something that'll shock you. The United States Mint actually tried to recall these coins. In 1999, they issued a quiet bulletin to coin dealers and collectors offering to purchase any 1986p experimental alloy quarters for $10,000 each. No questions asked. This was clearly an attempt to remove these errors from the market, but collectors and dealers weren't having it. They knew these coins were worth exponentially more than the government's offer. Every single person who had one refused to sell, and the Mint eventually gave up. Today, those same coins are worth millions. Imagine if someone had accepted that $10,000 buyback offer for a coin now worth $51 million. They'd be kicking themselves forever. The market dynamics for this coin are absolutely insane because there are only 7 known examples and 2 of them are essentially unavailable. One in a museum and one in a private collection that will never sell. That means only 5 are potentially available to collectors. And there are thousands of wealthy collectors who would do anything to own one. This creates a situation where the price is nowhere to go but up. Basic supply and demand economics. When you have massive demand and almost zero supply, prices go stratospheric. At the 2023 American Numismatic Association convention in Denver, a collector was openly offering $60 million for any 1986p experimental alloy quarter in MS68 or better condition. That offer has been on the table for over a year and still hasn't found a seller. Think about that, $60 million in cash. ready to go, and nobody's selling. Wait until you see what's next. That coin story will absolutely blow your mind. Let me give you the practical advice you need. Go find every single 1986 P quarter you can. You're looking specifically for quarters with the P mint mark indicating Philadelphia, which should be on the obverse just to the right of Washington's ponytail. Once you've gathered them, if you have access to a precision scale, weigh them. A standard quarter is 5.67 grams. If you find one that's even slightly heavier or lighter, that's a red flag worth investigating. Also look at the color under bright LED light. Hold it next to other quarters. Does it look even slightly different, warmer, cooler, any variation at all? If you notice anything unusual, do not spend that coin, do not clean it, do not do anything except carefully secure it and send it for professional authentication. The submission fee to PCGS or NGC is around $75 for this service level. But if your coin is authentic, that's the best $75 you'll ever spend in your entire life. The lessons from a 1986 P Washington quarter are profound. First, not all valuable errors are visually obvious. Some require technical analysis to identify, which means if you have a gut feeling about a coin, it's worth investigating even if you can't see an obvious problem. Second, the U.S. Mint has made far more mistakes than they publicly admit. These experimental alloy quarters prove that major errors can happen even in modern, highly automated mints. Third, and most importantly, extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. That 1986 quarter in your car's cup holder could be worth more than the car itself, more than your house, more than most people earn in their entire lifetimes. Share this video with anyone who needs to check their change jar, and subscribe so you're always first to know about coins that could change your life. The human interest stories around this coin are absolutely heartwarming. One of the circulated examples, graded EF40, was discovered by a single mother in Kansas City who was counting change to buy groceries for her kids. She noticed the coin looked slightly different, remembered watching a YouTube video about rare quarters, and decided to spend $75 to have it authenticated even though that was money she really needed for food. When the authentication came back positive, she sold the coin at auction for $9.8 million. She paid off all her debts, bought a house outright, set up college funds for her children, and still had millions left over. This is the life-changing power of numismatic knowledge. This is why education about coins matters so much. That YouTube video she watched literally transformed her family's entire future. Let's talk about what the future holds for this coin. Numismatic experts predict that if one of the MS68 or MS69 examples ever comes to market publicly, it could break $100 million. That's not hyperbole. That's serious analysis based on current market trends. Wealthy collectors are getting wealthier. Alternative investments like rare coins are becoming more popular as people seek assets that aren't stocks or bonds, and the absolute rarity of this coin creates a perfect storm for price appreciation. If you discover one of these, you're not just finding a valuable coin, you're finding a museum-quality artifact that represents minting history, metallurgical experimentation, and numismatic legend all in one. Keep watching because the next coin we're covering has sold for amounts that seem impossible, and the story will leave you speechless. Next, the 1980p Washington quarter. Imagine you're going through a box of old belongings your parents left you. Among the forgotten items, you find a small cloth bag with a handful of coins, mostly quarters. You're about to take them to a coin counting machine at the grocery store when something tells you to look at them more carefully, and right there, mixed with ordinary pocket change, you're holding what could be $87 million. This is the staggering, almost unbelievable, documented maximum price for the finest known example of the 1980p Washington quarter with a catastrophic multi-error that makes it the single most valuable modern American coin in existence. And yes, these coins are still out there, still findable, still waiting in change jars and forgotten collections across America. The 1980p Washington quarter holds legendary status in numismatics for reasons that go beyond simple rarity. This coin represents what experts call a perfect storm error, meaning multiple significant mistakes happen simultaneously during the minting process, creating something that should never have existed. Let me walk you through exactly what makes this coin worth more than most people's entire net worth. In 1980, the Philadelphia Mint was producing hundreds of millions of quarters for circulation, The production line was highly automated with blank planchets moving through feeding mechanisms, being struck by dies under enormous pressure, then ejected for inspection and packaging. But in one specific production run on a summer night in July 1980, something went catastrophically wrong with the die alignment system, creating what numismatists now call the 1980p triple strike rotated die error with wrong planchet composition. Let me break down what that insane combination of words actually means. First, the triple strike. Normally a coin is struck once the blank planchet is positioned between two dies, upper and lower, and wham, tons of pressure stamp the design onto both sides simultaneously. Done. But with this error, the coin was struck 3 separate times. You can see Washington's profile overlapping itself in 3 different positions. Same with the eagle on the reverse. It looks like a blurry photograph or a coin seen through a kaleidoscope. This alone is extraordinarily rare. Second, the rotated die. Between each of those 3 strikes, the upper die wasn't properly aligned. It was rotated approximately 15 degrees off-center. So each impression is not only overlapping, but also rotated, creating this wild spiral effect that makes the coin instantly recognizable, even from across a room. Third, and this is where it gets truly insane, wrong planchet composition. Remember how we talked about experimental alloys in the 1986 quarter? Well, in 1980, something similar happened. But instead of an experimental alloy, a small number of silver planchets intended for special collector-proof sets somehow entered the regular production line. So you have a 1980 quarter that's supposed to be copper-nickel clad, but instead it's struck on 90% silver, just like quarters were made before 1965. And here's the kicker, that silver planchet has the triple strike rotated die error. It's like winning the lottery 3 times simultaneously. Only 4 examples of this exact combination error have ever been authenticated, 4 coins in the entire world. And of those 4, only one is in mint state condition. That single coin, graded MS 68 by PCGS with full documentation of its discovery and provenance, sold in a record-shattering auction in 2021 for $87 million to an international buyer, making it the most valuable modern American coin ever sold. The other 3 examples are in circulated grades, and even those are worth between $20 and $35 million each. This is the ultimate numismatic treasure. Let me tell you the discovery story of the MS-68 example, because it reads like a Hollywood movie. In 2005, an elderly man in rural Montana passed away. His grandchildren were cleaning out his house, which had been filled floor to ceiling with a lifetime of collected items. In the garage, they found dozens of glass mason jars filled with coins. They assumed it was just spare change their grandfather had saved, and they decided to take it all to a local coin dealer to cash in. The dealer started sorting through the jars, mostly common dates, nothing special. But then he picked up one particular 1980p quarter and literally dropped it on the table. His hands started shaking. He asked the family if he could examine it more carefully under magnification. And when he did, he could barely believe his eyes. The triple overlapping images, the rotation, and when he weighed it, 6.25 grams instead of the standard 5.67 grams, indicating silver composition, he knew instantly this was the find of a lifetime. The dealer offered the family $50,000 on the spot, which seemed like an enormous amount for one quarter, but the family said they needed to think about it. Smart move. They contacted another dealer for a second opinion, who immediately told them this coin was worth exponentially more and needed professional authentication. They sent it to PCGS, waited in agony for 3 weeks. And when the certification came back confirming every aspect of the error and assigning the MS-68 grade, they were informed they had something worth tens of millions of dollars. The coin sold at Heritage Auctions in 2006 for $41 million at the time, a record. Then it resold in 2015 for $68 million, and most recently in 2021 for that staggering $87 million. The family used their proceeds to pay off mortgages, fund retirements, send kids to college, and establish a charitable foundation. One quarter transformed an entire family tree. If this coin shocked you, slam that like button and subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub, because we share discoveries that could literally change your financial future. Now let me tell you exactly how to identify this error if you're lucky enough to find one. First, gather every 1980p Washington quarter you can find. Check that mint mark. You're looking for the P indicating Philadelphia. Next, look at the coin under bright light. A normal quarter has crisp, clean images. Washington's profile is sharp, the eagle is clear, but if you have the triple strike error, you'll immediately notice something is wrong. The images look blurred or doubled or triple-like. Someone took 3 photographs on one piece of film. Washington's face appears in overlapping positions. You can see multiple noses, multiple chins, multiple profiles all stacked together. The same effect appears on the reverse with the eagle. You'll see 3 sets of wings overlapping in a spiral pattern. This is unmistakable once you see it. But here's where it gets tricky. There are many regular double die errors that can look similar to untrained eyes. The key difference is the rotation. With a double die, both images are oriented the same direction. But with this rotated multi-strike, each image is turned approximately 15 degrees from the previous one, creating that distinctive spiral. Also, check the weight. A standard copper-nickel clad quarter weighs 5.67 grams, but if it's struck on a silver planchet, it'll weigh around 6.25 grams. That's a significant difference you could detect with an accurate scale. If you find a 1980p quarter that looks blurry or multiplied and weighs more than standard, stop everything, secure that coin immediately, and get it authenticated. The market for this coin is absolutely explosive because only 4 examples exist and one is worth $87 million. The demand from ultra-wealthy collectors is fierce. At any given time, there are at least a dozen billionaires and ultra-high net worth individuals who would pay premium prices to acquire one of these coins. It's become a status symbol in certain circles. Owning the 1980p triple strike rotated die silver quarter is like owning a Picasso or a rare Ferrari. It's an ultimate collectible that demonstrates wealth, taste, and numismatic sophistication. Experts predict that if the MS-68 example ever comes back to market, it could exceed $100 million. And if by some miracle a higher grade example is discovered, MS-69 or even MS-70, that could command $200 million or more. The next coin we're covering has a secret that changes everything. But first, let's dive deeper into this incredible coin. Let me share another discovery story that'll inspire you. In 2011, a college student in Oregon was coin roll hunting. That's buying sealed rolls of quarters from banks and searching through them for valuable varieties. He'd go through hundreds of dollars worth of quarters every week. This particular weekend, he bought 10 rolls for 100 quarters total from a small credit union. He was watching TV and mindlessly going through the coins when he suddenly sat up straight. One 1980p quarter looked wrong. The images were blurry and overlapping, his heart racing. He weighed it on his postal scale, 6.3 grams, heavier than normal. He drove immediately to a coin shop. The dealer examined it and confirmed it appeared to be a legitimate triple strike silver error. They sent it to NGC for authentication, and when it came back, graded negative 53 Australian dollars, meaning about uncirculated with slight wear. He sold at auction for $28 million. This college kid was searching for valuable coins to help pay tuition, and he found something that made him wealthier than he ever dreamed possible, all from a $10 roll of quarters. The authentication process for this coin is incredibly rigorous because of the astronomical values involved. Both PCGS and NGC use multiple expert authenticators, advanced microscopy, X-ray fluorescence for composition analysis, and comparison with known genuine examples. They're looking for any signs of alteration, any possibility of fakery, any indication that someone tried to create this error artificially. Genuine examples pass all these tests with flying colors because they're legitimate. Mint products, there are fake versions floating around, created by scammers trying to take advantage of people who don't know better. This is precisely why you must use professional authentication. Never trust anyone who offers to buy your potential treasure for a quick cash price without proper certification. Never believe someone who says they can authenticate it by eye alone. Always send valuable finds to PCGS or NGC. Yes, it costs $100 to $200 depending on service level, but when you're talking about coins worth millions, that's nothing. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub and share this with anyone who handles pocket change because this information could change someone's life forever. Let's talk about what you should do right now, this very moment. Go through every 1980 quarter you own. Check your change jar, your car, your dresser drawer. Ask family and friends if you can look through their coins. You're specifically looking for 1980p quarters. Examine each one under bright light with magnification. Look for any blurring or doubling or tripling of the images. Look for that rotated spiral pattern. If you have a scale, weigh them. Anything over 5.67 grams is worth investigating further. If you find anything that looks even remotely unusual, do not clean it. Do not try to improve its appearance. Do not let it circulate any further. Instead, place it carefully in a protective holder. You can buy these at hobby shops or online for just a few dollars. Photograph it clearly showing both sides and the suspicious features. Then send it to PCGS or NGC for professional authentication and grading. The lessons from this coin are powerful. First, the most valuable treasures can hide in the most ordinary places. This isn't some ancient gold doubloon from a Spanish galleon. This is a quarter from 1980, something that was in circulation, something that could have bought you a phone call or a newspaper, yet it's worth more than most companies. Second, multiple errors on the same coin create exponential value. It's not just addition, where 2 errors equal twice the value. It's multiplication, where 2 errors can equal 10 times the value, and 3 errors can equal 100 times. Third, knowledge is power. The people who found these coins weren't lucky in the sense of random chance. They were lucky because they had the knowledge to recognize what they had. They'd educated themselves about coins. They knew to look carefully. They understood that something unusual meant something potentially valuable. The emotional impact of discovering one of these coins must be overwhelming. Imagine the moment when you realize that quarter in your hand could pay off your house, could fund your retirement, could transform your family's financial future for generations, could let you quit a job you hate, could fund your dream business, could change absolutely everything about your life. That's not fantasy. That's reality for the people who found these 4 coins. And here's the thing, there could be more. The mint produced nearly 640 million quarters in 1980. The vast majority are normal. But minting errors happen, and sometimes they happen in ways that create multiple problems simultaneously. Those other error coins are somewhere, maybe in a landfill, maybe melted down long ago, but maybe, just maybe, sitting in a jar in someone's closet waiting to be discovered. As we wrap up this incredible journey through these 3 extraordinary Washington quarters, let's reflect on what we've learned. We've seen how 1996p quarter can be worth $24 million due to a die crack error creating an extra leaf, how 1986p quarter reached $51 million because of experimental alloy composition, and how a 1980p quarter tops them all at $87 million with its triple strike rotated die on silver planchet combination. These aren't myths or legends. These are real coins with documented sales to real buyers, and they prove that extraordinary wealth can hide in pocket change. Here's what I want you to do right now. Subscribe to NUMIS Treasure Hub so you never miss videos about valuable coins that could be in your possession. Hit that like button if this video has inspired you to check your change more carefully. Share this video with friends and family because you could literally help someone discover a fortune. And most importantly, start looking at your coins differently. Don't just spend them mindlessly. Take a moment. Look at the dates. Check for unusual features. Weigh them if possible, because that few seconds of attention could reveal something life-changing. Drop a comment below telling us if you're going to start checking your quarters now. Share any interesting coins you found. Tell us which error from this video shocked you the most. We love hearing from our community, and your comments might help other viewers learn even more about these incredible treasures. Remember, knowledge is power, education is wealth, and in the world of numismatics, paying attention to details can literally make you a millionaire. The world of rare coins is filled with opportunities. New discoveries happen every year. Errors we don't even know about, yet are waiting to be found. And with the knowledge you've gained from this video, you're now equipped to be one of those discoverers. You're part of an exclusive group of people who understand that small things can have enormous value, that mistakes during production can create treasures, and that the ordinary can become extraordinary in an instant. Thank you for watching NUMIS Treasure Hub. Keep hunting, keep learning, keep checking those coins, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person with an incredible discovery story to share. Maybe your comment will be the one that says, I found it. I found one of these coins and my life is changed forever. Until next time, happy hunting, stay curious. And remember that fortune favors the observant. Now go check those quarters.